Hello, Chandeep. How you going, mate?
Good. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you
Pretty
clear.
good.
Actually, a good start, right?
It's a good start, yes. The music was really nice.
Please like it. Thank you very much, mate. It's a good change, but no, it does the job. It gets everything started, you know. I uh,
Yeah,
I I did a live thing with Reed Havens a couple of months ago, and I started, and I was on mute for the first few seconds, and I was like, it just never sounds like a smooth. It's like a pre-corona thing. When you start and you're still on mute, you kind of expect it to be so annoying to be immediately kind of there, you know. Anyway, sorry, that's me rambling immediately. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. I know it's kind of coming up your bedtime. It's where are you located again? You
I
mentioned.
am in Dubai
You're in Dubai.
right
Okay,
now.
nice,
That's
very
right.
cool. And it's like 11 o'clock at
Two
night or
hours of
something. Yeah.
two
Okay.
hours
Very
ahead
nice.
of you. Yeah.
I promise we'll do 45 minutes and then go straight to bed, mate. All good. So,
No, it's
do you want
pleasure to
to
be here.
do a quick intro? Tell us who you are and that kind of stuff, and then we'll kind of get the ball rolling on chatting.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Everybody can see my name. My name is Chandeep Chhabra, and I live and stay in Dubai as at the moment. I do training and consulting on Power BI. Alongside, I do write blogs. I haven't written in a while, but I do write blogs, and alongside some YouTube videos that is keeping me busy these days. So yeah, that's what I
Okay,
do.
so very nice, polished YouTube. You say you haven't blogged in a while. You blog. I've been, doing going scrolling through your blog and enjoying it. I
That was last month, I believe.
Was it last month? Was it? I'm losing track of the months. You know, there was one blog entry I particularly enjoyed. It was about extracting any step in Power Query.
Yeah,
That was a good one. I
that
really,
was.
I really enjoyed that. I didn't know you could do that. I was reading it, I was immediately thinking, I want a use case for that. I want a situation where I actually need this. I'll think of one because I really want to do it. Sounds like a really fun trick, you know?
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
just let me
I
know.
mean, if you're having a query there, which is where you probably have 3 or 4 steps, and you would want to utilize the steps somewhere in other query.
Mm.
Maybe this could be a merge. This could be something else. Then you could probably do something like that.
Yeah,
So
no, it's a cool idea. I
yeah.
I would post the link in the chat, but I did that once, and for some reason, I got me booted out of my own chat. So I'm kind of, I
Oh.
don't know how it happened. It was so weird. So for the rest of the chat, I literally couldn't click any button, otherwise it was going to boot me out of everything. But I will
That was
post somewhere
strange.
because it's a really nice blog. On the topic of your blog, the name, I was wondering for a while because I've been following your channel and enjoying your videos and stuff, and I was like, Goodly. It's Goodly. It's an interesting name. Is it like Goodly because you do things, you do them good, you do them goodly? Please tell us a little story because I really enjoyed it. Where's the blog name come
Sure.
from?
Sure. So I'm going to tell you 2 stories instead. How did it come to be Goodly first, and then why Goodly? So um, back in the day in 2013, when I decided to leave my job and I thought that I'll just do something of my own,
Mm,
I got some work, and then I went up to my mother. I said, Mom, I want to bill the client and I don't really have any name to put on the invoice. What should
mm,
I do? Why don't you lend me the name Goodly? Because you have everything set up, the company is set up, the taxation is there. You can be the signing authority. I'm anyways in a job. I don't really know that how long is it going to go. So I'm just going to take this name for now, and let's just see where it goes. So I just took the name Goodly,
mm.
and my father had created this name. Even the logo, he had created it at during those times. There was no
Interesting.
like a computer back in India
Mm,
35 years ago. um, and you would just create logos with hand, draw it with hand scales, and then just get it
wow,
printed, and then you make dies out of it, and that's how the logo was born.
that's cool.
So it's that old. um, and the other day, so that's how I got the name Goodly. I just took it away from my parents. um, and and the other day, I was sitting with my father, and I asked him that, why did you name this thing Goodly? Like, what's why Goodly? What's
Mm,
about this? Like, what were you thinking at that time? I'm sorry, I'm just asking you such a dated question, but why? What Goodly? So he says, I was just thinking to kind of create another company for your mother to kind of split the revenue and things like that. But So he says, I wanted to come up with a good name, something good. And then from there, he just said, okay, good, goodly. And that's how the name was born. So yeah, I don't know. It was a very, very
That's fantastic.
lame reason, I believe,
No,
but
I love it.
I don't even think that he remembers that why did he got goodly. So I think whatever came to his mind first, he just blurted out that.
That's really good, and I think it's a good name. A good name. Oh, sorry, it's too obvious, but it is. It sounds nice, and it could be a variety of things. And I kind of think it makes people you remember it for sure, because it's not as simple as the word good, goodly. It feels like there's something behind it. But what I love in that story is that you just asked your dad recently. You've been using goodly for such a long time,
That's right.
and you said 35-year-old name, right? Had this name, and you've just yourself discovered where it actually came from. This is
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Very
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, just like the way that you said it, I mean, it could be used for anything and everything. So the time that we get together, me and my brothers, and everybody sitting at home, so we think of different business ideas. Like we could do this and we could do that, and everything starts with goodly. So okay, let's just sell chicken. So goodly chicken. Let's just sell cookies. So googly cookies. Okay. So
Yeah, because this is actually a really good point. It's such a good brand name because it could just be. It's a good name. It's not really. I mean, if you like look at what we did with working with your Power BI data Excel, so many things are related to those things. Like people trying to have it something that's like BI related or some kind of like pun. And myself being a perfect example because Power BI guy, I thought that's a good idea. That wasn't a good idea. But all these people, but you have Girdly, and it just works because it's just a nice, smooth. Sorry, I just think it's a nice thing, and the story behind it kind of makes it even more enjoyable, So there you are,
Yeah.
Chandeep from Girdly. Anyway,
Yeah, that's right.
so in Girdly, you do you're kind of are you focused on the entire like package query, like so Power Query, because obviously you mentioned before you work with Excel and Power BI, and obviously the thing that merges those together is kind of Power Query.
Yeah, I mean, Power Query have been my jam of late. So I've been doing a lot of Power Query. This is solely because I have been getting into projects where the data quality is shit. So,
Yeah, there are some of
so,
those.
so, so, for the last maybe a few months or so, repeatedly, project after project after project, the data quality is so bad that I have to kind of do these nasty queries and do these wrangling of the data and creative ways to be able to come up with a neat and clean data model. So Power Query has been my jam of late,
Cool.
but I'd like to do some DAX and I'd like to do some visuals as well. So yeah, pretty much there on the three segments of
Yeah,
like I just want to build good models and whatever it takes to build a good model.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is always a good start, right?
Yeah,
Um,
goodly start.
a good, a good. You can just use it for everything, right? If you like, it should be on an advert every December. Like this was done, it was done goodly.
That was a good one.
Oh man. But so getting you're cleaning your data and then getting into a nice model is always is fantastic stuff. So, but when you said you're working with shared data, as you said, which is, I think everyone who was worked with in data can certainly remember many of those situations. Is it is this from consultancy work, or is it like you kind of taken over? Like for me personally, I don't do consultancy, but I can take over a project from someone else halfway through. How does it work with you? Are you kind of
um, So I directly contact companies, or the way it happens is that since I have a very small setup, now that I have a person and a small editor, like a editor with me, so we
okay,
have built like a small team around here. But generally, I
nice.
directly go and talk to companies, and they kind of come up with these problems that they're dealing with, and Power BI seems to be a good solution to solve those problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it works. So there's no intermediary in between.
Yeah, fair enough. So that makes sense. So I could pull this comment from Jeff. That's a perhaps accurate shit data. I work with shit. Yeah, fair enough. So I love it's a very bold comment. With shit clients. I'm sure there are no shit clients really. maybe just one or two. But yeah, it's interesting that to actually proactively approach customers to kind of solve that problem. I can imagine if you do it that way, you are going to encounter more, let's start saying, poor quality data, or data model like that. They haven't got, like, you can quite often, you can work with a company and they have a already quite a good data setup. They've got a nice model, they've got a nice data warehousing. But if you are kind of actively approaching these companies, then perhaps they don't have that in place, which is why you're kind of more dealing with this data.
So the thing is that what I have generally seen in terms of the projects is that if you happen to work with the revenue function of the company, you are maybe helping the sales teams and deal with that sort of data, which is directly tied to the revenue. The company is going to invest a lot of money to make sure that the data quality is up to the mark, and you have some software, so you have some ERP, you have some SaaS, and some SQL database at the back and things like that. But the time you move down from that sales function to any other cost function, perhaps HR or operations or any other thing which is not directly tied to the revenue, you will have spreadsheet after spreadsheet, just data floating around, some random softwares that don't even have any connectors available and things like that. So just like weird pieces of data. So all around, that's it.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is.
Yeah, there's always that goal to kind of have every bit of data that you need to run your company wonderfully data warehoused and fantastically structured. But exactly as you say, the further you go from that core of your core user, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we have a bit of here, we have a little bit there, and it just becomes this whole mess of. But on the plus side, that means we get to use Power Query, and Power Query is extraordinarily good fun. It's nice because, I mean, as you're kind of more focused on it and you learn these cool tricks, and so you kind of learn as you go,
Yeah. That trick was actually a product of the blog that I was reading back in the day. It was from Ben Guibardo. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's written this primer on M functions and M language essentially. So I had read the first 10, 12 pieces of content that he has put out on his blog, and they was just so incredible, so detailed. And then he had also given the link to the type function for M language, and I just ended up reading that as well, although back in the day I just couldn't really understand maybe 10% of that. But yeah, I mean, you kind of move along time, and then you tie up things together as you come across problems. And then the other day I was just sitting along and just playing around with Power Query, and let's just convert the entire query into a record, let's just see what happens. And then this happened, and I was like completely amazed with the results. I said, this needs to be a video.
Yeah, very cool.
So,
very nice.
Yeah, that's how it came along.
It's I love how that happens. I had this, I forget what it was. I think it was creating some kind of visualization for which you needed, that wasn't native to Power BI, that needed DAX for. This was a few years ago now, and I vividly remember back then I looked at how it was done, looked at the DAX, and I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I'll bookmark that and I'll come back to it later. And I completely forgot about it. And then it must have been like 2 years later, I came back to it, I looked at it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's really easy.
Yeah. Trust me, it happens to me all the time. I've sat across problems for months together, not been able to solve it. Maybe give it a little time here, give it a little time there. But I don't know. Sometimes you just like walking or taking a shower or going for a run, and just come back and you just do it in just 5 minutes. You just cracked it open. That's it.
Yeah. I scared one of my neighbors once a few months ago. I mean, I scared. I kind of got to give her some cut off the short. I was a bit strange or whatever. I was walking down the street. I was taking a break from work, and I was just walking my dog, and I did like a couple of laps of the block with the dog, And I was just coming back into like the drive of where the apartment block was, and this issue that I'd been thinking of, how could I solve it? It just kind of came to me, And I really quite loudly shouted, I was, all right, yeah, that's it. And as I said, I was walking past this woman. She was, what the? Are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm just thinking about work or something. It was, but yeah, like taking your mind off, or like relaxing, doing something completely unrelated. These are the times that you solve problems. It's like, sitting on the toilet,
agree.
you
Totally agree. I mean, I can't even imagine to tell you that how many problems have I solved off the screen. So yeah, I totally second you on that.
Yeah, I have a colleague, and we very frequently do this thing. We'll call each other, and to solve a problem. And usually what happens is the other person doesn't solve the problem. It's just as we talk about it and explain to the other person, the problem becomes really, really clear. And
Yeah,
the solution becomes very clear. And we're
so
like,
good. That's such a
yeah,
good technique.
yeah. We don't really ever do it on purpose. I think it's kind of a bit more expected now because it's happened so often. But really just sitting there talking, and then, and this the person in question, Coyote is called. His SQL is like a lot better than mine, and I was just talking through. I was like, "Okay, can you explain this to me? Can you tell me what I'm missing here? What I'm doing? Because I've done this, I've changed this there, I've added that." And then I was like, "All right, no, I see it right. I've just this part here. It was like I need to be changed from like a 1 to a yes or whatever, something weird like that.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
flag function anyway. But it's fantastic. I love just talking about things. Just right, yeah. I'm no longer thinking about the problem. I'm trying to describe it. I don't know, but it's
Yeah, I mean, reframing the problem just probably brings a bit of more structure to what you've done in the past. And I don't know how it
yeah.
works. The mind works in strange ways, but yeah, till the time you get to the answer, everything is good.
Just calling it the rubber duck method. I don't know what that means. I guess you talk to a rubber duck, and the rubber doesn't give the answer, but you'll learn the answer when. Jeff, feel free to clarify what you mean by the rubber duck method. I've never heard about this, and I can't really Google it right now. I can't type and talk at the same time. So have you heard of that rubber duck method?
Nothing.
No, no,
Never before.
no. It just I'm sure there'll be some kind of explanation coming up about
Yeah,
this
yeah,
soon.
yeah. I'm gonna say it the next time. Just use the rubber deck method in my
Yeah.
videos.
You can make a video about the rubber duck method. This is what
That's
you
right.
can do.
That's
You
right.
can incorporate into all of your courses. Oh man.
That's right. That's right.
But actually, courses you have you offer quite a few on your website, right?
That's right.
You got mastering DAX, Power Query course. I like it. It's right. And master Excel step by step. I could take that one, to be honest. I really need it.
And this was my first course that I created on Excel back in the day. I don't know, 2015, 2016, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So
Fair enough. Son. It's still something I could get involved. I have people like they make the assumption that it's like all things. If I can work with Power BI, then obviously if I can answer a reasonable amount of questions with Power BI, I can probably do the same with Excel. I'm like, look, if you want to solve this problem using Power Query, fine, come to me. If you want to solve this problem using any other method in Excel, do not come to me unless it's like something really, really basic. But yeah.
this is also somehow like a phenomena out there with people trying to get knowledge around Power BI, is that they somehow tend to believe that because Excel and Power BI is so closely knit in different ways, like you could analyze in Excel the Power BI data and stuff like that. So people tend to believe that if I have to learn all of what Power BI has to offer, I somehow have to also learn Excel.
Yeah.
And that's just not true.
No. I hope it's not.
I
Otherwise,
mean,
I've got a long journey ahead of me.
I ended up creating a video on that. I don't know how true is that, but yeah, I believe that what Excel offers to you, if you haven't been into data in the past at all, it just gives you a way to think about data. Like what is summarization, you could probably understand from a sum if or a pivot table. So these kind of things probably will just help you understand the topics or maybe aspects of different aspects of Power BI. But generally you can't really carry any of your Excel knowledge and apply it to Power BI apart from a few functions here and there. That's it.
Yeah. True. Just going to jump back because Jeff's explained what it means now about the rubber duck method. In the book, The Pragmatic Programmer, they carry around a rubber duck and debug their codes by explaining it line by line to the. So you talk to the duck and explain it. In my head, I've got this image of is it Hamlet holding the skull and doing this monologue with the skull or whatever. I have something similar now. This very like Shakespearean thing, like a Hamlet style, but instead of the skull, this rubber duck, and talking to the rubber duck, explaining your code seems very theatrical,
Today in the afternoon, I was watching Castaway, and it just is like he does the same thing.
Right.
Tom Hanks
Right.
talks to a football
Wilson.
all the time. Wilson,
Well,
yeah.
exactly.
And he comes out of that island, so I'm sure
Yeah.
we can solve a couple of analytical problems for sure.
Definitely. Hey, I was trying this as well.
Hey, Oz.
when I think of this film Castaway, the Tom Hanks film, when he has this ball and he's talking to it, I played this game with my wife once. It's like these 20 questions where you got to guess the character in the film, and I did this Wilson, this ball. I totally won. I so when I think of this, because it took her like an hour to get it, I just kept on. She was like, "No, it's not." And it was the best for me. It was the best ever way to play that game.
Good game.
Yeah. See, my God, I love the randomness of these conversations. Oh man,
That's amazing.
exactly. I didn't expect we talking about rubber ducks and balls and that type of stuff. See, this is what you stayed up for, right? You could have been in
Yeah,
bed,
certainly.
but you're talking about rubber ducks and volleyballs. I mean,
That's
when Oz came on, he did end up bringing out, I think, a dead chicken claw or something, so it can get pretty random up in here.
oh.
Anyway, but in general, like, so back to our Power BI type discussion. What are you more comfortable? You see, obviously, you have this training for Excel, and you have your. Where do you feel more comfortable when you? I think someone asked before as well in the comments. When you approach your clients, are they tend to be already using Power BI, or do you ever like solve things? You ever go to a company and actually solving the problems using Excel? What's your kind of favorite tool to be working with?
I think these days it's 50-50. So I don't do generally any Excel based consulting. It's generally around Power BI. So it's 50-50 these days. For a more mature company who has built some processes around working with data, they would probably be using Power BI already.
Okay.
And for a company which is trying to solve problems outside the main revenue function, which is maybe the sales function or anything else, they would probably not have heard of Power BI. So maybe I'll have to educate them a bit about Power BI and how things are working there and things like that. So yeah, that's how it is.
So it's also like the education of the tool as well, like implement it yourself and then teach them how to use it. So going forward, they can kind of also use it within their own company. Yeah.
That's right. I think in terms of education, one thing that helps generally is that if you've had a past project that you've done, and if you could show some sample to the client, that is when it actually clicks to them. Oh, I could probably do that, and I could probably do this, and things like that. So that helps. But otherwise, it's very, very difficult to ask the client to uproot every single Excel report that they have created in the past many, many years and move everything to Power BI and rely on whom? This guy, me, right here, Goodly guy. So I'll do it for you. So it's very, very difficult to do that.
Yeah. This is sorry. You got me with Goodly guy. Yeah, of course. But when do you meet a lot of resistance when you suggesting a new tool? I mean, when you're suggesting Power BI, you see I have people who perhaps have never heard of it. Is there resistance to adopt something like that? Because I know user acceptance is always an issue for this sort of thing.
For the clients that I have worked for, I think it's not been too difficult to mold them into using Power BI. For some or the other reason, these clients have been the clients that I have worked with them in the past for some or the other project.
Yeah.
And maybe just through the sheer relationship that I've built with them, they would probably just trust me to do the right thing for them. And that's it. If in the scenario when they have not really heard about Power BI in the past. But yeah, not too difficult. But yeah, sometimes you would have to educate them a bit, and then they will just be converted, into giving me the assignment. But yeah,
I think when I think about user acceptance and this adoption of a newer tool, of course, newer than Excel, pretty much everything's newer than Excel. Because of the days, a few years ago, for example, when it wasn't as known. I mean, now companies, even smaller companies, they'll kind of poke the nose in a little bit and do a little bit of research. What tools can we be using? There aren't that many people who have experience of data who never at least heard of Power BI. Whereas when we were first getting started, I remember back in 2017, 2018, those type of times, it was a lot harder. And I feel scarred by those days, it was tough.
Yeah, I think the rankings of Power BI as a product in Microsoft, just in general, in the Gartner quadrant, has done pretty amazing. At least for the bigger companies who consider these metrics really, really useful. Yeah, that's the way it is.
I've got a comment at the. I've just go back to this. Also, is get a correction. It was not a dead chicken claw. It was a turkey foot. I don't see a vast amount of difference there, to be honest. But, but okay. Basically, you said it was even bigger. Oh man, love it. I sorry, just it was a random thing about this claw.
Cool.
The Gartner quadrant you mentioned, right? I'm always curious about this because when we talk about data visualization, when we talk about any sort of showing data and what it's all for me, it's also about what's said quite often is about clarity, what it means, what it represents. And whilst with the Gartner you can't see those things, I want to know. I don't know much about how they arrive at that data, So it just feels like how often is it released? Twice a year, a few times a year? I don't know. Every year I just see this picture of Power BI, there or whatever, there, however, when you
Right.
look at the screen. It's like, okay, great. That means good. That's what I know. I mean, that spot means good. You got here's Power BI, here's Tableau, and all the rest of this stuff that people kind of
That's
use
right.
and know. But I want to know. I want more information than that. I was like, okay, what does that represent other than the actual quadrants? Where they're gathering this data, who they're asking, and I feel frustrated by the Gartner quadrant. Yes,
I think I ended up reading one of the blog articles which was supplemented along with the link. This was I don't know, maybe quite a while ago, and they did mention a couple of parameters on which the product was rated and ranked, but I don't really have the link, or do I remember that what was those parameters? But I believe that I read them somewhere in the past, but don't really recall that what were those
okay.
parameters.
Well, Kevin says that there are details in the report that tell you how to calculate the score. I don't want to read that. That sounds like a lot of hard work. I'm here. I'm here to look at pictures of data and not read paragraphs, man. If I wanted to read paragraphs of text, I would just read the paragraphs of text. Give me the PDF. I mean, yes, I'm sure there are some very clever metrics behind it, but sometimes I'm just thinking. I just feel that every few months, it's like lots of people who work for Microsoft and work with kind of Microsoft tool kind of publish it and just say, look, this is how awesome it is. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not denying that it's awesome. It's really good. I mean, of course I like it because I wouldn't have a job if I didn't like it. But like, what does that mean in real world terms? I really don't actually. I really don't like getting in discussions about Power BI versus Tableau.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously.
it is every time I see that. If anyone has made a video about this, I fully respect that. Whatever, this is great. You do it. You have that. But for me, I'm like, pick what works and go with it. And this is to give background as to why I hate it so much. And the previous company that I worked for, we were using both. We used Power BI and Tableau, which was fine because it was a huge company and they can be rolled out together, no problem. But there was one specific report, and that did the metrics for the entire company. And it was discussion. Okay, we've been building it in Tableau. Should we build it in Power BI instead? And literally, it was like the CEO of the company was sitting there and put us in a room with 7 people, and he was like, "Okay, discuss it. Which one should we be using this for? Power BI or Tableau? Let's go through the pros and cons." I'm like, "No, I'm not getting it." And I tell you what happened. I tell you what the outcome was. They gave. We went through it, said, okay, this can do this, this can do this. We took the notes on a whiteboard or something. Someone who didn't know either tools was the one who's going to make the decision because, okay, you don't know anything, therefore we're going to kind of let you make the decision based on what you've decided. And his conclusion was, I don't know. It was just...
that that was epic.
Yeah. So we'll go with ClickView, okay? So...
No, better off Excel. Let's just do it. let's just do Excel.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, it's just I'm not sure. Have you ever had these been involved with this? These discussions of what's best or anything? Or
Um, for the clients that I've had approached in the past, or vice versa, and they have been telling me that, hey, we are using Tableau, and as time passed away, almost everyone switched from Tableau to Power BI for one or the other reason. One of the reasons was cost.
Hmm.
So yeah, But yeah, I've had that in the past. We not really like Power BI. Tableau is much cleaner. The visuals are better and things like that. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah.
reason.
Exactly. It's just I'd always just say just look at it. Whichever one you pick, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna have some nice reports, I promise. But just pick one, stick with that decision, and go with it. And whatever you do, don't pick one, use it for a year and a half, and then change your mind because that's gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. I
Yeah.
think after a while, you use any application. This is just not for Power BI or Tableau. I mean, even in the business, like you're using any particular application, a payment gateway,
Mm,
or any other application to solve any other problem, switching costs are way too high than just saving a few dollars here and there. So
mm,
it's really, really quite painful to set up the processes again.
yeah. Yeah. Completely. Anything, I mean, any project that halfway through gets changed. It's like it doesn't matter what it's about, how it's getting changed. If you start a project and halfway through, like, okay, we need to rethink this. It's like I don't want to be here anymore. It's like
Yeah,
this is too much
seriously.
to deal with. Oh yeah, 1 second. Apparently, there's Bark is an alternative to Gartner, so I'm gonna have to look at that as well. Maybe that's just more information that I don't fully understand.
Another
Maybe
PDF waiting for you.
yeah, maybe I could get Power Query on Gartner and then I could understand it a little bit more. I'm not sure, but maybe that could help somehow. I don't know. One day we shall see. We shall see. What about this? So we spoke about Power BI, Excel, and Power Query, of course. We've mentioned Tableau, which may be the first time ever on these live chats. What about DAX, mate? I saw you did. I'm not sure how long ago it was. I was just clicking on all your videos, like DAX debugging type courses and stuff. So you must be quite comfortable with DAX, no?
Yeah, I mean,
There you go.
I'm okay. I'm okay with DAX. I'd say I can do some pretty weird stuff in DAX,
Weird's
um,
good.
and and it so happened that initially I started to learn. I mean, I learned Power Query, the interface of it, but I never really deep dived into the M language and things like that.
Mm,
And project after project, when I just tried to make my DAX more sophisticated as I went along doing more projects, and which was not the right thing to do. So I was not really paying attention to the data model at the back. So I was trying to
okay.
do everything with DAX.
Yeah.
And there came the time when the models became slower and non-performant and things like that. So at that time I decided maybe I could just tinker with the way the data has been structured at the back, maybe just shape the
Mm,
tables once again, and
mm,
then try to do something which actually improved like the performance of the model quite significantly. And that's the time when I started to kind of move back from DAX and just started to play around with Power Query a lot more and shape the model so that I never have to write any sophisticated DAX again. So yeah, that's the
that's pretty
journey
cool.
to DAX and back to Power Query.
I like that. It's kind of like I can write awesome DAX, but I choose not to. Okay, that's I like that. I'm not saying it's not true. I fully believe you because obviously I've seen some of your video stuff look very nice. But I feel that would also be a really good line to someone like me, who my DAX is. It's okay. I could say to someone, I could do that, but I choose not to. Let's look at the model instead. Let's start there. But of course, you're exactly right. Yes, checking the model is always very important to check. Again, this is class. I mean, the classic situation where you write, 15 lines of DAX, or you can just, do add one column in Power Query, and then you kind of set it to go. I still admit the most underutilized thing that I've seen in Power Query is just age. Age. It's like for me, like on a date table.
Oh, okay.
I think age can help you solve so many complex DAX things, especially when it comes to like time intelligence. Seeing a huge number of videos about okay, how can I make the report only show the past or data from this week? Okay, that's a flag on your data, or only show the past like 7 days. Okay, that's age. But DAX wise, it's not hugely complex, but it's certainly more complex than flag equals. you know.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. I agree with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you. Just add a column to your calendar table or so, and you're just good to go.
Yeah. Yes, when I do the trainings for Power BI, obviously we'll start with in Power Query, and always with the date table. The date table for me is just like the center of everything because it's so, other than the fact table, because it's just so like vital to so many things you can do. 1 second. DAX. Okay. This is a fact comment. SQL or Power BI helps too. Yes, it's just true. SQL as well. That is a very good point. If you write
Certainly.
some decent SQL statements, that is certainly not my strength, the SQL, but getting there. I kind of learning bits and pieces. And my boss said to me the other day, I had to change something. My boss said, "Oh, the SQL. Do you want me to do it for you?" I was like, "No, I don't want you to do it." I appreciate the offer, but I've got to learn, man. So I'm just doing it. I'm like changing. He's like, moving that there. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm getting there. But yeah, this is a good point, actually. The number of conversations you have about Power BI, Power Query, and SQL doesn't even get mentioned at all.
Yeah.
Do you can you SQL?
No, not at all.
No. Okay.
Goodly does in SQL.
I'm. Oh man, I
So
love
no
it.
SQL.
No, I feel a lot more secure now because normally it's just like, or not normally, but quite often it's like, yes, I started with SQL and I work with this technology and that technology, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, okay, fine. But so I feel like I'm in good company, right?
Yeah, I'm just a pretty straight off Excel guy. Dealt with a lot of lookups, and before Excel or along with Excel, I created a lot of PowerPoint presentations. So I came from a very very business centric
Yeah,
background. I've apart from a few classes in the school, I've never really coded in my life. So
yeah,
uh, none of that experience actually is there.
yeah,
So I've seen SQL here and there in a few projects. I could just get a table from SQL and add
mm,
it to Power BI and then
yeah,
understand what query folding is and
mm,
take use of that till the time my query actually breaks the folding.
yeah.
And rest, but apart from that, that's it.
But this is actually a good point from Jeff. SQL now within data marts, right? You can
Data
use
marts,
SQL.
right? Yes.
I was really happy about that because it gave me more of a drive to actually improve my SQL. I was like, oh, okay, right. So now I mean, I know I could have done it anyway. But yeah. Hey, this is a really random thought when I just think about SQL. How come no one ever mentions how annoyingly small the SQL box is when you do like when you're getting data, right? And it's like basically all write an SQL statement. This box is like ridiculously tiny.
This,
How I've never seen anyone ever said, oh, or open it, or like, and on the ideas side, please can we not have the world's smallest box for SQL statements? And if you import, there are certain situations where you can't even hit enter or return. As soon as you hit enter or return, it's it. So if you're going to the next line, it just enters it, and you're like, okay, now I've got to wait now because this is not going to
oh, it's
work.
executing. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
N is execute. So there's certain situations where N doesn't execute, and I don't know. This just came to my head right now because I very rarely mention it, but I've done it more in the past month or so. And I'm like, why do you hate us? Why do you give us this? It's like, do you when you like post a letter in the post box? This is how we're writing our SQL statements.
Yeah. That's all the space that you get.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's for people who like me who can only write that amount of SQL. Oh man, but yeah, the box should be smaller. Yeah, okay. So yeah, the box should be the box should be so that small that only SQL gurus know it's there. That's a good point, actually. Fair enough. So I'll take that. I'd rarely use it, but on the occasions that I do, it's just a strange thing. It's sometimes when you come across an or encounter a situation or something that you think doesn't work very well, and you realize that you've never heard anyone say anything about it at all, it's like, is it me? Am I doing
Yeah.
something wrong here? You
Yeah.
know? Very odd. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so no SQL, so it's not a big deal on the goodly side, I suppose. No problem. You were, am I correct? Were you recently made a data guard by correct or a data guard of the week? Is that correct? I'm
Yeah.
sure it
Yeah.
says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that for? I saw come up.
I guess probably for the YouTube videos that I end up creating, he picked me up. So
Okay, I
that
thought
was
you said
nice.
I thought it was said something about a new course or something was coming out.
Yeah, so he Chris is very very generous, and he kind of lets you, add something to your profile, which you could probably
Ah,
kind of talk about in terms of
mm,
uh, revenue, or selling something to the audiences who takes a look at your profile. So he was generous on that, but yeah.
nice,
But
nice.
it was not because of the training that I'm trying that I'm it was not because of that,
No, no, no.
but it was just
I was thought it's because I was looking on your website and I was thinking, okay, is there a new training that I can look out for or something? But okay, fair enough. But congratulations on being the data god of the week. Very cool.
thank you, thank
Very
you,
cool.
thank you.
I love these artist sketches. When he showed me the image that he used on his website, I was really happy because it gave me quite a nice beard, and I'm like, in real life, I could never grow a beard that awesome. So the data guard version of me had just quite a nice beard, and I was like, okay, fair. At least one version of me has that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's the graphics that he creates, these artworks, is pretty awesome actually. So
Yeah,
he gave me actually two versions of it. So he gave me with a blue turban and a red turban, and the photo that I have on LinkedIn and other places is with the red turban. He says, "Hey, would you want to go with a blue turban or a red turban, because the blue matches the background of the blue of the artwork, so you might want to go with that, or you can pick red." And I just
nice.
showed it to my brother and my family around, my wife around. She says, "Okay, go with red." So that's
Very nice. That is the image that I think it stands out of you for most people. This is when they have on on your profile and stuff. It's kind of goes.
that's right.
Very nice, mate. Very nice.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah. Okay, this is actually a good point. Use Notepad++ or any other app to write SQL. I know this is totally true. I'm not good at that, to be honest. I end up doing something really terrible that I just use, like, what's it called, like text edit or no, yeah, just Notepad, not Notepad++, just regular old Notepad. I think last month I really gave myself a kick up the arse, and I was like, okay, use Notepad++. I tell you what, it was because I was writing Vega Lite, right, and just sorting stuff out in Deneb, and I had it all down, okay, and I was preparing myself for some kind of user group talk or something, and I was obviously having trouble to work out where the commas kind of opened and closed themselves off, and I was doing it in Notepad, and I was like, okay, Ben, just use Notepad++, do it in there. But I put it in Notepad++, which is not easy to say, by the way. And when it highlights the what they're called, the brackets, when it highlights the brackets, it does it in like this shade of red that I can't see very well. So I was still like zooming in. I felt like even older than I actually am, just like really trying to find where this stuff ended and finished, But yeah. And okay, one second. This is a good point. Use Azure Data Studio. I actually just started using Azure Data Studio as well, and it's
No,
awesome.
is it?
Do you use this?
Never. I'm gonna try maybe
Yeah,
someday.
do it. Do it. It was recommended to me by a colleague. I think it was Azure Data Studio, unless I'm getting mixed up with something else. Because I was sick of using SSMS to kind of access our our data warehouse, and I really don't like the interface, and it's slow, and I don't need it because I don't write so much SQL. I just kind of okay, right click, show me top 1,000 rows or something, and then from that I'll just kind of steal some code or whatever. So it was take so long, so I used that, and okay, you're right. Basically, there are lots of alternatives for the very thing that I'm complaining about. However, I don't find that acceptable, because if you're using a tool and it's right there, and the option is, oh, I just use this other tool instead, so I've got to use that, and then I write it there, and then I've got to copy and paste it here. It just means you've given me a bad program to use in the first place, Anyway, that's just me going on my random small box SQL type rant. All good, all good. Anyway, mate, I know it's late over there, so I don't want to kind of take on longer than you wanted, because you said already when we first started that it was getting late and past your bedtime. So,
Totally cool.
you sure you're okay, mate? You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally cool.
Yeah, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough, son. But so you said, just going back to the very, very start. So you're based in Dubai, right?
That's right.
How is that? Is it nice to live there? Are you enjoying it? Is it extraordinarily hot? Because to be honest, I'm in my office and I'm actually baking. You can probably tell this by the pink spots on my face. In Berlin, it's already too hot. So how's it like? What's it like over there?
Yeah, the weather is extremely hot here. This summer has been slightly cooler as compared to the other summers, the typical summers that we get here. It's very, very hot. Although it has just been about 1.5 years or so that I have been here, but it's very, very hot here. But for a large part, the weather pretty much resembles what we have it in India,
Okay.
minus the desert and the desert. So, you know, yeah, that's how it is. I mean, back in 2020, I was in India, and during this COVID time, everything moved online, and then the training went online, the consulting went online, and I had all the time in my hand. Otherwise, I was pretty much like 150 days on the road, just doing training or consulting work for clients and companies.
Wow.
And this led me this opportunity of creating the little YouTube thing that's going on, and also uprooting my entire life and just moving out to a different country altogether.
Yeah.
So yeah, my brother stays here, so yeah, it was a little easier to move to a new country, but yeah,
Fair enough.
it's a good country.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Also, you did you say you moved there during Corona
that's right.
lockdown? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That was so because you had the freedom to do so, so you did it basically.
that's right. That's right.
Not bad. I like it. Yeah. I did not move to a new country. I stayed right where I was and locked myself in my office, and I haven't haven't left
But
since.
what I have been, I mean, I've heard all of your past conversations here on live,
Cool.
especially when I'm in the gym, back to back. It just plays, or
Cheers,
during
man.
the night when I go for a walk. Um, and I believe you did move from England to Germany
Yeah.
back in 2006 or something.
Yeah, you got a very good memory. I'm very impressed. Exactly. It was just before the World Cup in 2006. I moved here, and yeah, it's just I was
Just
here. What happened was the first time I moved to Berlin, the first time I came to Berlin, I was like 17, 18, I think actually for my 18th birthday around that time. And I just really loved, there was something about the city that I just loved, and I always wanted to come back. And then I came back during when I was at university. I took a year out to come back, and almost didn't go back to university, but I did. Obviously, very very pleased that I did. And then when I had the chance to, and I finished university, I just moved straight back again, and I've been here ever since. Really, I can't say it wasn't because I met someone. It was obviously because it always is. I was meant to go on a European on my year out. My plan was to do like a European tour and have like an interrail pass and go for different places. I went to Berlin. I went to a couple of different places in Germany. I took a train to where did I go again? Somewhere else that wasn't Germany. I can't remember. Prague. I went to Prague, and then I was in Prague, and I was just kind of like, no, I'm going to go back because I met someone, and that was me in Berlin. Since then, yeah, I'm not with the same person, but that was how I ended up being here. And
very nice,
yeah,
very nice. And you also learned the language.
yeah, I speak German.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, not
very
like
nice.
fluently, but kind of like how I learned Power BI. Really, I learned it in strange ways. I kind of didn't learn it in a structured way. So there are some things that I should know that I don't know in German. There's other things that I kind of have like really picked up strange words from dialects and all that kind of stuff. But no, it's a fun language, is German.
Yeah, it's a pretty good thing to learn a language.
Yeah, I should do more of it. But what are you gonna do? Time wise, that's always a thing, right? Time wise,
Yeah,
it's pretty tough.
yeah.
So yeah, this is me. Are you planning on staying in Dubai, or do you kind of you don't know? We'll see how it goes. Or
Well,
was that
frankly, Brian, this is the most confusing question of my life that I don't have the answer to as of now. So
fair
I
enough?
don't really know if am I going to go back to India? Am I going to go back, like go to some other place from here? I really don't have any clue. For the fact that the kind of work that I do and the way that work has been moving, it just gives me the freedom not to be at a certain place. All that I have is like one computer, two monitors to just back it up and just go. That's all that I have. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really know. Let's just
Yeah,
say.
yeah. It's a big question. Sorry, I did put you on the spot there, mate.
No, that's totally okay. That's totally okay. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, wherever you end up, I'm sure you'll have a great time. I can recommend Berlin. If you ever find yourself in Berlin, just let me know. It's always a fun place to be. But yes, plenty of options. Yeah, plenty of options.
Yeah, I had a training a few months back, and there was this gentleman joining in from Germany. I'm not really sure which country was he joining from, and he just showed he just took the camera out and he just showed all the snowfall that is happening and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, that's cool.
being from India, I've never really seen a snowfall. Trust me. Although we have parts in India which are really, really cold,
Yeah, okay.
like Kashmir, uh,
Hmm.
but I've never really seen a snowfall.
That's
Never.
interesting because when I first was in Berlin, I was staying with a bunch of Australians, and some of them had also never seen snow. And it was really quite a wonderful thing to be with someone when they saw snow for the first time, because that joy on their face of having, and for me, it's just like weather. I mean, I'm from Northeast England, it doesn't snow all the time, but it snows. Um, to see a person see just a type of weather for the first time and like touch snow, it was awesome. It was such a wonderful
Yeah.
experience to kind of be part of that. So yeah, I mean,
So
I
I
love
come from a
snow as
place.
well.
I come from a place in India which is Jaipur,
Okay.
and closer to my home city, there
Mm.
happens to be the largest desert in India, which is called the Thar Desert,
Oh wow.
and I'm
Okay.
back in another deserted area. So, so
You're just drawn to the desert, mate, right?
desert, yeah, yeah. I
Oh
would want
my
to go to
god.
the snow.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe there's some kind of just go to Antarctica. That's kind of like a desert of snow, right? There you go. Uh, that would be
I have been
cool.
to England once for a few, I think, 2 odd weeks. I really liked it there. It was like a trip to meet some family there.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe England.
Yeah. I mean, I left, but each to their own. Each to their own. I really like Scotland. I mean, Scotland is for me. I haven't been, of course, to every
Ah,
place in the world, but Scotland is very, very beautiful.
yes, I think we were just driving. I think it was we were trying to go to Edinburgh or we were trying
Mm,
to go to Scotland. One of
mm,
and we had taken this car or rent. And as a child, I used to draw these scenic pictures where you
mm.
have like a valley and you have a tree at the back and you have a small hut and you have this rainbow and birds flying. I literally saw that. I said, "This is where I'm stopping the car. This is where I'm living. That's it. Decision made
Wow,
for life."
that's so
It was so
cool.
beautiful. It was
Yeah,
so beautiful. But yeah, I had to
yeah,
come back to the desert.
yeah. Well, it happens. It happens. No, I can remember when I was younger. I mean, I went to Scotland a few times when I was a little kid and stuff, and I always just thought of it as kind of like England, but at the top part. It wasn't, of course, until when I was older and I was actually seeing the country and experiencing the people, um, that I really just realized Scotland is so different to the UK, because the countryside in the UK is it's nice. It's very green and quite rolling. We have the Pennines and stuff, but when you get to Scotland, it's so much harsher. It's like a bit more rough and kind of like jagged, if you will. I'm not sure, but it's still green. It's very dramatic. I like it a lot.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, sorry, I won't keep you too late. Well, call it a day there, mate. It's been a really good chat, and I know it's late. And to be honest, I'm
Sure.
starting to get a bit sleepy myself, and now I'm getting a bit sad because I'm not in Scotland, and I love Scotland so much. The one thing, actually, I love. I do love being in Berlin, but I really miss having because in around Berlin we have Brandenburg, and it's not really particularly beautiful. There's no coastlines. There's no hills, mountains. It's just very, very flat. So this is why
Is
when
it okay?
just really, I mean, North Germany and kind of like the Netherlands and stuff is just like flat, 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 flat. And so we recently went on holiday to Austria, and there was, of course, mountains there. It was just nice to be around countryside, and we stayed in this apartment. We opened on the balcony, had just mountains all around us and stuff, and a little bit of snow, not a lot, but a little bit of snow. So that was nice. I enjoyed that for
Snow
sure.
gets here in Dubai, but in winters in the month of December and January, there's a very thin layer of snow that you would see on the sand. If you just
So
go
yes.
deep in the sand, near the sand dunes and stuff. So you would see a very thin layer of sand, and it gets really, really cold in the night here in the sand.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think I saw a video of that. It looked pretty cool. Liked it a lot.
yeah,
Anyway, mate, thank you so much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure.
sure.
Really enjoyed hearing all the stories. I really enjoyed hearing about Goodley. That was wonderful. It's gonna stick in my head even more than it already did. You understand that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
That was cool.
Good luck with everything, and yeah, really enjoy your videos. Really enjoy your stuff. So I'll look forward to keep on enjoying those things. And yeah. Everyone who is in the chat, asking the questions, talking, chatting away, it's always much appreciated that you join us. Take care. I'll be back next Thursday, and I forget who I'm talking to, as I always do, because I have a terrible memory. One day I will actually remember that. But I shall see everyone again next Thursday. Thank you very much, everyone. Wherever you are in the world, have a nice rest of the day. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.